Go, gentlemen. We're live now, so we have a very short meeting, hopefully. I believe we need to convene call to order. The verification of quorum. We have one person online, Greg McKenzie. Greg, are you here?
I am here.
All right, and that gives us, the whole board is here, and President Swain. So we have a quorum, so we can proceed. So let's have the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have one item. Just to remind everyone, the board does not, individuals do not have authority. The board as a whole has authority, so we have to get together to make decisions. I'd like to make a motion. Motion is to grant authority to the board chair to direct litigation until the next officer election. Would anyone like to second that?
Would you repeat that one more time?
Okay, grant authority to the board chair to direct litigation until the next officer election.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a second.
Is that all litigation? Because there already is there was a motion on May 17th of last year that the chair and the president would agree to anything that doesn't involve me, that the chair and the president would have to agree to act on behalf of the board without going back to the board. So that was already approved. So is this a change to that?
Yes, it is.
So so on a 5-member board, we're gonna have one member that is gonna make all those decisions without going back to the board.
I wouldn't say all of them, but day to day, yes. Anything major, I'd be coming back to the board.
So that to me, I'm not sure that is even legal for to delegate all decisions to one individual, but I'm not a voting member. I'll let the rest of the panel weigh in.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
are you saying for an entire year?
It's a little less than a year, yes, but it's, however, right now the board chair has quite a bit of authority. This is a little bit more, and to cover litigation, yes.
And I sense that there is a sense of urgency on this for this sudden meeting. Is there something pending that's?
There will be a hearing on Friday on one of the lawsuits.
Well, I would also echo that it's questionable as to whether or not the board has the authority to delegate that kind of responsibility to one member of the board. And should it be found out later that the board does not have that authority, then any decisions that would have been made would be void.
Could we get a comment from council?
Sure. There's a prior resolution that isn't entirely clear by the way it was written and recorded in the minutes. It had several clauses and qualifiers, and so the purpose, I think, of this motion is just to clarify that when a matter comes up like we have on Friday, we have panel counsel assigned, we have a hearing, we don't have the opportunity to have the board get together to have a meeting to discuss how to direct the panel counsel. And so we're sitting here waiting before we file a response, discuss the case, indicate in any way how panel counsel should respond. And I think that prejudices the board's interests. I think it could constitute an emergency, which would allow the board to call a meeting with no notice. But this seems like a way to clarify the prior resolutions in a way that would give Chair Wagner the same authority that the prior chair had to make decisions sort of in between board meetings that don't necessarily require a board meeting.
But the board chair didn't have that sole authority.
Well,
it was with the president.
Well, the prior resolution, we can read it if you'd like. It did state that the board chair had authority to communicate with the attorneys and direct litigation, but he would also consult with the president. And so I think that's best practice, a good policy. This is not intended to change that. However, I mean, this is directly in response to a matter that may not be appropriate to have the chair.
Coordinate with the, yeah, I get that. So I think, I'm not comfortable with having anyone, and I've been on lots of boards, I'm not comfortable with having a board member make all decisions for the college, because it's the college too, for the college and the board. And I don't think that is passes all of our fiduciary responsibility test. And so I would recommend that we have the chair and another member of the board, and that's basically what the May 17th memo said, or was that if the chair and the president agree that we can make decisions on behalf of the board. And so if the president is involved, that obviously doesn't make sense. So I think we have, what we need is add to that and say, in the case where the president is involved in the litigation, that the chair and another board member would be asked to make that decision. So we don't change the resolution that's there, we add to it because it doesn't address a case where the president is involved in litigation.
Understood. I'm not anticipating further litigation where the president's involved, but the prior resolution stated that the NIC board chair was authorized to make all legal decisions and at the chair's discretion in consultation and coordination with NIC's president, Dr. Swain, and designated persons regarding the existing lawsuits before the college, and have full authority, including authority to delegate this authority, on who may speak with lawyers and or which lawyer they may speak to for whatever lawyer may serve the college both now and for future law firms. So to me, I didn't want to advise anyone to proceed to respond to a new lawsuit that wasn't existing without the board meeting to discuss that. And so while it could be limited, to me it made more sense to have this pushed out. It's more in line with what the prior resolution says. And if in the instance that we get another, maybe judicial review, not another petition, that we would need to make a response quickly, because we only have 28 days to respond. We can't wait to have another regular meeting,
Right.
or even really a special meeting sometimes to discuss it with panel counsel. So
I would just feel more comfortable if there were two individuals, and maybe if you know, Terry or Brad were available to, so that it doesn't seem like, you know, I mean, it's apparent we have a 3-2 split. And so I think going forward, making sure that both sides are okay with whatever is agreed to makes more sense to me than handing it all off to one. I don't have a vote.
Mr. Chair,
You recognize?
I call for the question.
Well, we're not gonna
No,
call-
not yet. I haven't even had a chance to speak. I have a few things to say.
Neither have I.
Well, I want to say something. If you don't want to say anything, don't say anything.
Of course you do.
Yes, thank you. Chair Wagner,
Yes, you're recognized.
thank you. The motion and resolution that this board took on May 17th was outside the bounds of law. We have not the authority to delegate power to one particular individual or trustee or to the board chair. So that entire resolution was ill-advised, and everything that came from that could be called out null and void. We should go back to the practice of calling a special meeting and discussing each and every action, because this is a board. We represent the community and the college. No one person can take specific action. I'm quite surprised at what I hear from council tonight, because Idaho Statute 33-2107 states the powers that the trustees have. Nowhere in there does it say that we have the authority to delegate authority to a particular trustee or to the board chair. We are operating already outside the bounds that we should be, and I'm concerned that if we continue to do that, we will be called out on it, and everything that you think that you've gone forward to do that's in that you want to do, that you vote to do, that you move forward to try to work for this college is going to be null and void, whether it was a good action or not. Further, I'm just gonna point out that the commission continues to call us out as a dysfunctional board. We continue to make decisions, we continue to take action, we're going rogue. I'm not gonna vote for this. We're going rogue and the commission is watching again. We're continuing to be dysfunctional.
Well, we have two opinions here, and council was telling us it's fine, and we've done it before. And having too many people involved is unworkable, and there's no intent to go off and do anything radical.
You can have the authority to take a specific action after discussion by the entire board and agreement, whether it's a 3-2 vote, a 4-1 vote, whatever, but you have to have the decision and the discussion from the board before you can take forth an action and facilitate it. Yes, you can facilitate it, but you cannot just take that action without bringing it to the board and having discussion and making a decision, preferably an open meeting.
Board acknowledges, chair acknowledges, vice chair.
Thank you. Well, I guess we'll get our one shot at this, then I will call for the question after I'm done, because then everybody will have spoken. If you go back and look at the history of this board, there have been many instances where authorization is being given, particularly to the board chair, to act on behalf of the board. And I'm not gonna sit here and cite all the examples, but the board chairs were very powerful chairs. If you look back at Christie's reign and Ken's reign, and even Joe with his 1 year. So the first 8 years I was on the board, there were many times that things were delegated or given to the chair. So this is nothing unusual to give the chair authority to act on behalf of the Board of Trustees. We had powerful chairs back in those days, everything from driving the agenda to many matters. So to cry wolf like this is suddenly something new that the chair would act on behalf of the board is it's not correct.
Mr. Chairman?
And I call for the question, sir.
Yeah, I got one more thing I want to say, please.
I call for the question, sir.
We've already, so let's go ahead and vote.
Well,
This is
Mike, I
really,
think you
really unbelievable.
should let-
Brad had something to say.
You know,
Just
well,
'cause
the-
he has
the
a
day is
pause.
the day is gonna come when somebody in this community will have had a gutful of this silliness, and there will be a lawsuit filed.
What do you mean there hasn't been already, sir? What do you call Mike Gridley?
The action that you take tonight, we have disclosed to you that you're taking action that is outside the bounds of the law. You are liable for your actions. And it's sad that we've got the council that's giving us bad advice. I'm sorry, didn't mean to step on your toes there so much. I've done that in the past with Art, and it didn't make him too happy. Again, this meeting's been called with a state of urgency. I think it speaks to the investigative report, which we all know what's in it. And just see what happens. We'll see what happens.
I've attended about over 30 meetings, and over the last few years, previous boards have gone ahead and given authority, like to David Wold, to work on making offers, et cetera. So
You're asking for blanket authority on all litigation for a full year. Let's be reasonable, give you some direction for each and every action, not blanket authority. That is not legal. I propose that you rewrite your proposal this evening for a specific case.
Chair Wagner, if I may.
yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Call for an amendment.
I feel like this board's had enough obstruction from people who don't like the way the votes are tallied at the end of the night. And I think this is pretty much doing the exact same thing as the May 17th motion. If you recall, we can have council read it again, that it was all at the chair's discretion. And of course, I trust you to collaboratively work with our president as policies call out, and I look forward to hearing that going well. So I think we're ready to vote, and people have enough headlines for the Coeur d'Alene Press tomorrow.
I propose we amend the resolution this evening
Well, I called for the vote, so.
We've had
it's
two
already been
call for
called
the
multiple
question, so
times.
we're gonna vote ayes,
Aye.
Aye.
aye. Nays?
Nay.
The motion passes. And that's the only thing on the agenda, so we're ready to go tonight. Meeting's over.